You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub is your neighborhood pub in the heart of the Glebe. Check them out for great food, tasty drinks, and an amazing atmosphere. Pilsy, is it a Pilsy certified venue at the Glebe Central Pub?
Oh, absolutely. We had a blast at the Glebe Central Pub. That was my first time there, and it won't be the last.
Senators come to play on Sunday afternoon, defeating the St. Louis Blues by a score of 7-2. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Pillar and Aleems Martian, the whole Postcast crew. We're going to save our conversation about the weekend and everything for Monday. We got too much to get to. Too much meat on this bone. Pilsy, how'd you see this game play out against the Blues?
I mean, this is exactly what we thought the Senators were going to do to the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't know about you two, but this is the kind of effort I was totally lined up for on Friday. But I'm not going to stick on Friday. We're going to stick to today because a 7-2 game here. I mean, my God, I know the St. Louis Blues are in selling mode, and it's pretty fortunate that the Ottawa Senators bump into them with no O'Reilly or no Achari, and this was a team that you can tell the vibes are down for the St. Louis Blues. They had nothing going, and apart from two fluky goals near the end, this was utter domination by the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, Pilsy, that was a fun one, wasn't it, buddy? That was exciting to watch, and that's the brand of Senators hockey that we want every given night. So that was awesome. It's too bad that wasn't the game that we ended up being at, right? Because I mean, imagine us afterwards at the Glebe Central Pub after a game like that, and like you said, you know, that Blues team, they just looked defeated right from the very get-go, basically, right, boys? And I had a few friends out there in the stands, and we were talking, you know, weeks leading up to this. I'm like, the Blues are going to end up selling the whole team before you get to go and watch them here in Ottawa. And sure enough, that's basically what happened. You know, 3 pretty good players, you know, from their forward group out the door.
Well, Senators had more than 3 forwards going, but they did have 1, 2, 3 hit 1, 2, 3 points. Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, Alex DeBrincat, all with 3-point nights. For Tim Stützle, he's had 3 or more points in a dozen NHL games already in his career. This was game 183 for him, and in 12 of them, 3 or more points. Unreal rise to superstardom. Those were highlight reel tallies in this game as well. Now, right now, Kevin Mandolese has the goggles. I've got easy entries. Ridley Gregg, first career NHL goal, the 7th one. We know the sentimental value around the goggles. I've got Brady Tkachuk and I've got Tim Stützle. Is it Alex DeBrincat, the 4th option here on the poll? Martian, who do you have?
I mean, yeah, he had a 3-point night too, right? So that's a pretty good choice, I think, too. But Mando, you know, those goalies, they love each other too. It was a great game by Sogard. I think he kind of got robbed of the shutout there a little bit. Those late goals. I don't know. I don't want to start you off, Ross, but if we start talking about Gord Miller bringing up the shutout in the broadcast, you know, saying shutout without saying shutout, what do you think of that?
No, we'll save that. Pilsy, who do you have for the 4th option? And I don't think he's going to go back to because Sogard gave them to Mando. He can't go right back.
It's true. But that, you know, that goalie brotherhood, they're tight knit, so you never know.
That'd be hilarious. Drake Batherson's another great option too. Pilsy, who you got?
Yeah, I think you probably put DeBrincat on there, although it would be all time for the goalies to keep it in the crease and just pass it back. Because, I mean, with these two guys up here doing what they're doing with basically winning every single game except taking it to overtime up against the Blackhawks here, they've been pretty damn good. But I think any other choices other than Ridley Gregg are just extras here.
Well, Eric Brandstrom, we're getting some in the chat. We've got all the way from Australia, Jimmy Hyde's going.
There's always a few Brandstrom lovers who are always in the chat saying, "What about Brandstrom?"
Hey, 4 points his last 5 games. I mean, I what was the tweet? Someone sent it to us at Sens Central on Twitter. Eric Brandstrom had 4 points in his previous 45 games. He's had 4 in the last 5.
Yep, he's been hot lately, and that's what we've been looking for him since Sanderson's been out of the lineup here. That elevates Brandstrom, and you got to take advantage of these opportunities, and I think Brandstrom's looked really good recently.
Certainly. What's the call, though? Everyone, let us know in the chat, too. I want to hear answers, because right now I'm stuck between DeBrincat and Batherson. I think those are probably the 2 last options in Larson coming for Matthew. I don't know if I'm going to give him that yet. And Ron asking if Talbot starts tomorrow. That's not going to be the case.
No.
At practice, but not ready to go. They're hoping for next weekend. Read between the lines, Carolina, because if you're saving him for Saturday against Montreal, I'd be throw Mando in easily against Montreal. You've been banging on the table for that.
There we go. Ross wants Mando to get a start. Hey.
All he had to do was make 46 saves, and Luciano just had to be a great guy and come on with us. But no. Yeah. In all seriousness, I think we know that if Talbot does play next weekend, it's the Carolina game. All right, I'm putting Drake Batherson as the fourth option, but Martian, am I seeing you in the comments saying that it's a no doubter for Ridley Gregg?
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a lock to go to Ridley Gregg here, just because he's played with Mando, they're familiar with each other. He's kind of gone a little while here without getting that first goal. I mean, it's still pretty quick, but yeah, I think it's an easy choice for Mando to toss the goggles to Ridley, and I think he'll have a pretty funny reaction too, because he's kind of a shy guy, right? He doesn't love the spotlight, I feel like, so that should be a good one.
I like it. Pilsy, top line gets shifted. No longer Mathieu Joseph there. We noticed that on Friday for a few shifts. Claude Giroux made his way back up. Just fit like a glove. Just like that line was humming last time he was up there. Is that something that you just keep together now? Don't try to be too fancy?
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, with Mathieu Joseph, the whole idea was we got to see him in a small sample size play on that top line with Norris and Tkachuk last season, and he did phenomenally, especially up against Detroit. So you kind of thought, okay, he's able to do that. He can bounce up and down the lineup, but this season has not went well for Mathieu Joseph. Let's just be honest. Throughout many different aspects of his game, the awkward DJ Smith healthy scratch, like it just hasn't gone his way here. So I think taking him out of the bottom six and elevating Giroux, a guy who has had an amazing season so far, was definitely the right move, and that's paying dividends in tonight's game, or this afternoon's game, I should say.
Yeah, I like the choice to keep him there too. And I mean, 3 goals for Mathieu Joseph. That's not first line material. I'm sorry, I hate to say it. So yeah, it makes sense to bump him back down. There was flashes where they did look really good together too, I think, and it was a little bit of a callback to last year, but even still, I think it's the right move to keep Giroux up there, and I think that's a really nice looking first line there.
First line was great. You know who else I really liked tonight was the fourth line with Brassard. Ridley Gregg was playing down there for a good portion of the game with Parker Kelly. I thought they created some chaos, or maybe that's like a third, fourth, because I mean, Austin Watson, the Gambrell line, you could say is also probably a fourth line in the NHL. We'll see where Julien Gauthier adds. We did make a specific trade reaction video. It's on our YouTube. We got 10 minutes kind of diving in to who Julien Gauthier is. If you missed it, traded for Tyler Mott. And ever since we said Tom Pyatt, every time I just want to say Tom Mott. It's bad. But now I don't have to worry about that, as Julien Gauthier is in the nation's capital.
And if you love that video, you should follow up and look at Mike Rupp's little synopsis he gave you guys there on Twitter as well. I think he gave a little bit of insight, and he's got that Rangers connection there too. So I think he kind of keeps his pulse on those New York teams. So he had some good things to say about Julien Gauthier. So maybe there's still some untapped potential, and he just needed to change the scenery. And who knows?
In the description for the trade reaction video, we get the link directly to Rupper's comments there as well. Great call, Martian, to get that in. Absolute beauty. Pilsy, when did this one turn into a blowout for you?
I mean, pretty early, honestly. Like you mentioned, like the St. Louis Blues, like it just looked like the guys were not stoked to be out there on a Sunday afternoon, especially after, once again, their captain is not brought back on this team. I mean, Pietrangelo wasn't traded, but he left right after winning a cup. Ryan O'Reilly's the captain. He gets a couple of years here, and that's that. But I would say, really, Ross, I'll go with the 3-0 goal. Like, Timmy just makes an absolute fool of Thomas Greiss on that one. A beautiful backhand deke. And what I noticed about this game is all the passes were crisp, tape to tape. And it seems like the Ottawa Senators, they try this style of play throughout the year, but they're not able to get these types of passes through with consistency like they were tonight. Everything was clicking for them. The backdoor plays were automatic here, and they led to 3 or 4 goals. Anytime Timmy had the puck, it was on a string for him. He made it look easy. So this was just a game where, you know what, as much as we would have loved to see a win in Chicago, I think that might have been a good wake-up call to the top 6 guys. Like, hey, if you're going to be playing up against some lower tier teams, you guys need to carry the load here, and you guys need to finish these games off. And they didn't waste any time finishing this one off.
I like saying that. I like saying the 3-1 was 3-0 goal was where it became a blowout, but they then scored on their next 2 shots. Pilsy, they scored 3 goals on 3 straight shots.
Yeah.
2 goals on 2 straight shots and 3 of 4 in the middle of that second period. Right when they decided not to challenge the Brady Tkachuk one is where I was fully on board. Because was it high stick? Was he foot in the crease? No contact, no chance. And Steve Ott, the assistant coach for the St. Louis Blues, had the same kind of thought, and he's a guy who's been standing in that area quite a lot over his career. So they don't challenge that, and sometimes if there is a successful challenge, momentum just flips right on its tail. So they were able to avoid that, and from there just carried it on. And man, they were snapping it around good. Again, great to see. It's almost like the classic warning label we have to put when they beat the Habs, where it's like, yeah, it's a bad hockey team.
Yeah. Did you hear the referee on that Brady Tkachuk goal, though? The mics actually picked it up right before they scored. You could hear him saying, "Brady, get out of the blue, get out of the blue." And then he almost kind of maybe did the Sens a little bit of a favor there because Brady was pretty close to Greiss there on that play. And so it could have gone either way probably. But I think thank you very much for getting Brady just that a couple inches outside that blue paint so he can get that deflection, make it happen there. Yeah, it was great stuff.
Yeah, and I love when the refs communicate like that, Martian. Like, let the players know where the line is. Like, what is okay and what isn't. Like, Brady's battling in there. Give him a heads up. Like, hey, you can be there, but you gotta give a little more space there. So I think it's nice when the refs are able to communicate like that.
100%.
This game was 1-0 after the first period, despite the Sens' best efforts to get more. And then in the second, as we say, the game really exploded from there, where Timmy started going with the assist on the DeBrincat goal. We shouldn't actually skim through this. Martian, you called it a UFO saucer.
I really wanted, as you were just talking, I was like, I really hope we get back to talk about this pass that Drake Batherson made on his backhand on the half wall, all the way across the rink to Shane Pinto. This thing at its apex was probably 4.5 feet off the ice, right? Like it was high. And that's what you call a UFO saucer pass right there.
Shoot it down.
And on the backhand too, that's probably not the easiest thing to do. And it might have been maybe a little bit lucky to land right on Pinto's tape. And he was flying. They actually highlighted it during the TSN broadcast. They said he was going 37 miles per hour as he was skating through the middle of the ice. So, I mean, that's a good clip. And when he's moving his feet, he looks really good, Shane Pinto. So for him to get there, but what a feed.
Yeah. What a feed. We'll get more in depth into how this game developed in our Sens Central Citizens coming up after, yes, a quick word from our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. I need to tell you how great the wings are. I've heard the rumors, but I had it myself. Hot and honey wings, right, Pilsy?
Ross, when you weren't paying
the
attention,
honey milk are just as good.
When you weren't paying attention, I might have grabbed a couple of your wings off your little
How good were they?
Unbelievable.
Oh, man, the beer was ice cold. The health drinks were flowing. We had a fantastic time at the Glebe Central Pub, and you can too, whether you go there on a theme night, whether it's, you were mentioning they had the speed dating there the one night. They've got trivia. They've got absolutely anything. Battle bots, I want to say one of them are. Anything they get up to, they have a great time doing it. They've got darts. You can go throw a few bullseyes. You can have some fun at the Glebe Central Pub, 779 Bank Street. Make sure you check them out. In the heart of the Glebe, the Sens shuttle runs at most games, I'll say. So check the entire schedule on their website, glebecentralpub.com. For more, it's the Glebe Central Pub in the heart of the Glebe. Our friends with tasty drinks, amazing food. Get the wings, hot and honey.
and we got to give a major shout out to our boy Dave. Yeah. He was right in the mix, helping us get set up with the podcast. So he was great. A couple shooters in there with the boys. So the people, the staff at the Glebe Central Pub are also excellent. So definitely check it out and tell them we said hey.
The Glebe Central Pub. Check them out in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street. All right, you're locked on Senators. 7-2, the score. Sens win 7-2.
That sounds great.
Wow. Rosie, doesn't that feel nice?
I mean, 7 goals, like,
You know when the
whew,
last time they scored 7 goals was?
home opener.
We sprinkled a little pixie dust in the air on
There you
Friday. It
go.
must
It
have
was
fallen off
lingering.
our
There was some
jerseys.
residue.
Yeah, it must have fallen off our jerseys and right into some smelling salts. The Sens woke up today in the second period and just took this game away. 7 goals. First one the nicest for you, Pills?
I think so, honestly. Like, Martian, that Drake Batherson pass was a thing of beauty because not only is it all the way from the boards, it's a backhand sauce that lands perfectly to a in stride Shane Pinto. It's incredible. Like, although some of the Timmy goals, the finesse was beautiful. Like, to be able to do that backhand sauce pass and hit it perfectly is a thing of beauty.
For me, it was the 6-2 goal or 6-0, right? And then they scored the 2, and then Ridley ends off the game. Scoring summary there, but the way that Timmy just sliced through the neutral zone, you're like, okay, this is boys versus men right here. I love it. And you mentioned Shane Pinto swatting it at the perfect time. The UFO landing, placing down, and that's a
One
baseball.
bounce.
That's a baseball in him, eh, Martian?
I almost tweeted at Frank Pinto. I'm like, was he playing a little baseball growing up or what? Because it was pretty clear. But boys, when we're talking about the nice goals in this game, there's probably 4 that you could put right head
Honestly.
to head here. That pass by Stützle for the DeBrincat goal was ridiculous. Like, just
especially the third angle, Martian, eh?
oh, he just completely zinged it right through everybody, and it was right on DeBrincat's tape, and that's a gift for him because he's going to bury that pretty much every time. At least he has historically. Maybe not every time in Ottawa, but we're not going to jump into that. And then Timmy's first goal too, the third goal of the game, where he just and Drew breaks it in. It's a 3-on-2 situation. It's a one-touch pass from Brady, and he sends Timmy in all alone, and he goes little hesitation. Heavy, looks like he's gonna shoot, and then he goes straight backhand shelf. Like, that's glorious. I was watching that. I'm like, what a player we have here. This guy's ridiculous.
The Ottawa Senators dominated the St. Louis Blues. The score is 7-2. The Sens outshoot the Blues 34-32. The Sens are 1 for 4 on the power play. The Blues 0 for 6. The Senators snap back 57% of the faceoffs. Let's get to our Sens Central standouts presented by the Glebe Central Pub. Pilsy, who is your number 1 standout from tonight's game? Lots to choose from. We'll go around twice.
Yeah, we'll snap it around twice for sure. You know what? I'm going to start with Tim Stützle because those goals that he scored all alone, and the one goal we didn't mention was his second goal, and I love that one because he had Grice totally convinced he was going to go back to that backhand deke, eh? Like, if you rewatch it, he's doing a couple quick dekes in front, and then he puts his body position in such a way that it seems like he's going to slide over, and then as soon as Grice bites on that, he goes 5-hole because he's opened up trying to slide over to stop that backhand from happening once again. Martian already mentioned the beautiful pass. We already talked about the backhand, and these are the types of games. We saw it. We were there when Tim Stützle was on the ice for that overtime goal against the Blackhawks. He was furious. He did the one hand hammer the stick down like multiple times. Like,
he does that a lot.
He does do that a lot, but you could tell that one meant a lot to him, and he felt like he kind of let the team down, not getting back on that back check for that goal. So what does he do? Takes it all in, has a day to sit on it, and then he says, I'm going to come back a lot better, and he was a lot better tonight. So my first Sens Central standout is going to be Tim Stützle. He is an absolute superstar.
And real quick too, Pilsy, I completely agree. Obviously, this is a really easy pick for you, but let's not forget the beginning of the game. He got really engaged physically too, which is something that's kind of an underrated part of his game. And he just absolutely drills Colton Parayko from, I would say, like a little bit from behind. He might have left his feet a little bit. The refs ended up calling it what did they call it? A boarding penalty?
I thought they called it charging. Let me double check here, though.
They called it charging, but if it was a boarding penalty, then that review could have ended up turning into a 5 and a 10. But because they called it a charge instead of a board, they weren't able to. I think they probably wanted to give him that 5 minute plus a 10 for that hit because it was a little greasy, to be honest, but heavy contact, and that's a big boy for him. So. Yeah. I love that stuff from Timmy. When he gets engaged physically, he's elite because he's mad at everybody around him.
It's certainly great to see the analytics were on Tim Stützle's side in this game as well. He was just creating all over the ice, and great to see him back with Claude Giroux. I like the chemistry those two guys have. And then, I mean, any line Brady's on becomes the number one line on this team. Physically, Brady was a monster, and that's where I'm going to go with my first Sens Central Citizen. If you heard his comments after the Friday game, you knew this was going to be a big captainship performance from Brady Tkachuk, and he answered the bell. The tip in goal's nice. The 2 assists, even better. He just is such a monster out there, and I absolutely love what he brought physically tonight as well. Didn't get credited with any hits, but he was finishing his checks hard and 50% in the dot. So I think more emotionally than anything, even more than the numbers, 2 shots on goal. We don't like that under hitting. Never liked the under for Brady shots on goal, but he was the leader of this team, and I think he deserves the first shutout for me as Sens Central standout.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was how many 3-point nights does this guy have under his belt this season? He's absolutely tearing it up. Multiple.
On that note, I was just going to say Brady Tkachuk, stick taps, 250 NHL points.
Nice.
He's the fastest, yeah.
Ottawa Senator to get, or sorry, the youngest. I don't know if it was the fastest. I didn't see games played, but the youngest Ottawa Senator to reach 250 career NHL points. Number 2, Jason Spezza. Number 3, Marian Hossa. Number 4, Martin Havlat. And number 5, Erik Karlsson. Pretty decent list to be a part of. And now he's on a career-high 6-game point streak. It was already a career high at 5. He's now extended it 6 straight games with at least a point for the captain, Brady Tkachuk.
And enjoy being that youngest player to 250 for now, Brady, because Tim Stützle is right behind you.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, he's coming for that one. So enjoy it while it lasts there, Brady. I guess it's my turn here, and it's going to be an easy one for me too, because you left me the only other guy who had 3 points tonight. And I got a little heat on the Twitter for leaving him out of the Senators stocks. But I do always say that when Alex DeBrincat scores goals for the Ottawa Senators, he's going to be my standout every single time. When he finishes those goals like that, it just makes life so much easier for everybody, right? That's what we expect from him. That's what he's going to do. I don't even need to go any further than that. I think DeBrincat had a really good game. Obviously, he had the 2 assists as well, and that first assist he had was a lovely little feed as well. But boys, like Alex DeBrincat needs to keep burying pucks, and this team's going to have a chance to win every time he does it. What's the record when he scores? You probably don't know off the top of your head, but it's good.
Definitely good.
Let me pull it up. Pills, you got anything more to add on DeBrincat?
It's just really nice to see him finally be able to finish these plays. Like you said, Martian, like that's a goal Alex DeBrincat of the Chicago Blackhawks will finish every time. He hadn't been able to do that for the Ottawa Senators for the start of the year, but he had a couple goals where just recently it was elite sniper goals, and I think he's got that confidence back, and now he's feeling good. He's fully in the groove of being with a new team, and I'm not worried about this kid whatsoever. And it felt really good to hear Pierre Dorion shut all the nonsense rumors of Alex DeBrincat being traded. Like, that was just absolute
crazy talk.
Anyone that thought that was a possibility or a smart move was, I don't even know what to describe that. That's just that you just can't have that outlook. So
I don't understand why that was even a discussion in the first place. Like,
me neither. Like, I can't. And it was very clear that Alex DeBrincat now wasn't going to get a return that the Ottawa Senators would be willing to do. So why would you trade him? He's an RFA. He fits into this core perfectly. So Alex DeBrincat, he's looking good as an Ottawa Senator lately.
The Ottawa Senators are 14-1-1 when Alex DeBrincat scores. 2 most recent games against Calgary and then today.
Imagine he's a 40-plus goal scorer again. You're looking at 40-plus wins. Let's go.
Insane correlation between DeBrincat scoring goals and the Ottawa Senators winning games. Martian, why don't we do this snake style?
I knew you were going to go snake draft. I love when you guys do that because I wanted to talk about this guy because he was taking major heat after the Chicago game from our fan base. And whether it's deserved or not, I think there were a few, defensive plays last game where he looked like he was struggling out there, and that's Thomas Chabot. But tonight he had a really good bounce back game. I think it came right from the get-go. And our boy Meth, too, he was talking about it on the broadcast in that first intermission where, Chabot was picking his spots properly when he's playing smart. And you usually see it from him early in the game, right? And that's something that you talk about with that overutilization of him on the ice. When he comes late in the games, he starts making mistakes because he's probably mentally fatigued. And tonight he was great. He had an apple. He was +3 out there, and he played. He played the right amount of minutes, I think, tonight for Thomas Chabot, and he did his job well tonight, and you can't say anything bad about that. And for everybody who attacks him online and stuff, just guys like give it a rest for just a second here. If he has one bad game here and there, who gives a shit, right? It's a one bad game. You can't jump on this guy left and right. He's been the staple for how long here on this team on that back end, and he's had to deal with some really bad partners he's had to play with.
Big time.
I get it. It's easy to get frustrated, but you can't turn Thomas Chabot into a whipping boy.
I know. And well, hey, when he's playing 23 minutes and he plays like tonight, he's not going to be whipped at all. He's going to be praised as he should be. He was awesome tonight. How about 4 block shots as well? That's a nice little stat line for him. And Brady, both with 4 blocks in this game. But yeah, out of his 23, over 4.5 played on the power play, that's perfect for him. And then you won't run him into the ground, where the big problem is when he gets tired or fatigued, we'll use the term, that's when he slows down, and that's when the decision making isn't as good as it should be. So
the mind goes, then the hands go, then the legs go. That's the order, right? It's the head first. So
Pilsy, can I hand it off to you? I can go 2 different ways. I'm happy to lay it out there if you have one in particular you want to jump on.
Oh yeah, I got.
Oh, here we go. Another Canadian standoff here, Pilsy.
No, I'm taking that. I'll take this one gladly to move things along. But I do want to touch on Chabot a little too. He was playing physical too in that highlight pack that you referenced that our good friend Mark Mathot was talking about. I don't know who he hit, but he had a good hit behind the net. Like, this was clearly a bounce back game for Thomas Chabot too. So I like that pick, Martian. I'm going to go with who I thought you were going to take, Martian, and how do you leave a guy who gets his first NHL goal on the board? The Riddler gets a goal finally. He's been working hard. You mentioned, we talked about how good this team has been when Alex DeBrincat scores a goal. How about how good this team has been when Ridley Gregg has been in the lineup? It's been crazy. And now, obviously, with only 1 goal in this stretch, it's not all on Ridley Gregg, but he seems like he's given this team a spark. He's kind of brought some youthful energy in, and especially Claude Giroux loves having him around. Like, I think that really boosted Claude Giroux's morale, and Ridley Gregg does a great job winning that draw. Brass gets it back to Chabot. Chabot, all you want him to do at that point, don't get too fancy. Don't try to do too much. Just get a puck on net. Sure, the puck gets blocked, but that's when you've got a 4th line like that, and you've got guys like Parker Kelly, like Ridley Gregg, that are going to battle for those loose pucks. Ridley gets the loose puck, and he does the smart, simple play too. Just fire it on net, and that beats Thomas Greiss. And sure, it's a 7th goal, so it doesn't really mean much in a 7-2 game, but that's got to be one that it's nice to get the monkey off your back if you're Ridley Gregg. So that's going to be my second Sens Central standout.
And over 175 votes are in, and 64% say Ridley Gregg will get the goggles from Kevin Mandolese. Better be a quick turnaround, because Sens are in Boston tomorrow. DJ Smith mentioning they will have Julien Gauthier in the lineup. Gauthier will make his Sens debut tomorrow in Boston. But will my final Sens Central standout be in the lineup? It's Mads Søgaard. Come on, what a bounce back. He was hard on himself after the Chicago game, unrightfully so. Sure, you want to get everything short side, but Patrick Kane has done that to much more experienced goalies for years, for decades in the NHL. You take your licks, you get back out, and with Søgaard, it's always been, can he string multiple good performances together? And now he's shown that, in my opinion, a Friday, Sunday, back to like day off, day on, NHL lifestyle, and he was able to show bounce back now. 3 and 4, though, probably not where I'm leaning. I'd go Kevin Mandolese. Pilsy, before we get to that, though, to wrap up our Sens Central standouts, because we post this as its own video, I'll recap as well, if I can recall, as I'm a little bit of a peanut brain. I got Brady Tkachuk and Mads Søgaard. Pilsy, who do you got?
Tim Stützle and Ridley Gregg.
And Martian?
DeBrincat and Chabot.
Let us know in the comments who is your Sens Central standout, presented by the Glebe Central Pub from a 7-2 win over the St. Louis Blues. All right, Pilsy. So are you starting Kevin Mandolese tomorrow, 1 p.m. in Boston?
Absolutely, yeah. You look at he played a really good game up against the New York Islanders. Now, I know the New York Islanders and the Boston Bruins are very, very different teams, but you could argue the Islanders have a lot more to fight for. Like, that was a crucial game for them to win, and they have Bo Horvat. They sign him to this big deal. They can send over a good package to Vancouver to get him, and they can't ultimately beat a kid who's starting in his first NHL game. And I just think you want to keep Sogard comfortable here. You don't want to push him too hard. This game up against the Bruins, obviously you want them to win. Obviously you want these points as the Senators inch closer and closer to the P word, and they're sniffing around. I would say it's definitely fair to say they're sniffing around that second wild card spot, but you can't burn Sogard into the ground here, because you got to remember, even when Cam Talbot comes back, still no Forsberg. You need Sogard to be ready and available. So I'm here once again, verbal meme, the Bernie Sanders meme. Once again, I'm asking you not to pressure the Sens to play goalies on back-to-back nights.
So, Martian, are you Mando tomorrow too?
Yeah, I'm Mando tomorrow too. I see it, and I think I said this maybe a couple of podcasts ago when we were discussing who might end up getting that start after Talbot and Forsberg got hurt, and I said throw Mando in there as the trap goalie, right? Like, Boston's never seen him before; they have no idea what to expect. The Sens are 2-0 against the Bruins. Let's not forget. I know that both those wins were at home, Ross, and they have a much better record. The Bruins do at home as well. But you know what? Just throw Mando in there. Let's see what he can do. I'm not overly worried about it. I think tomorrow is essentially a schedule loss. So any point on the board out of tomorrow's game is a that's a win for the Sens. So let's see how it goes here. I think Mando's like a little bit of a sneaky choice to go in there. So I like it.
I don't think we can finish this postcast without Pilsy's favorite thing to do, looking at face-offs.
Not a doctor.
One guy in particular, a guy who I didn't notice until the third period, and the first thing I thought was, wow, he's pretty beat up. Logan Brown went 6 for 19 in the dot tonight. Did you notice Logan Brown at all?
Yeah, I noticed him when he was falling on his face, and when Drew didn't even touch him, and he goes down, and I noticed him there, and then again shortly after, you think he drew another one. So that's the only time I noticed him. Guys, don't get me started. I'm sick of talking. I used to rip on him back in the day, and I'll do it again. But
he was your whipping boy.
He was, yeah. I never liked him.
He's the biggest softie. Like, he's so huge and so soft.
If you're built like that, you should be king of the ice out there, and he does none of it, and he does nothing for me. He doesn't try as hard as he probably could. He looks effortless out there, and he's not doing anything good for me. I don't like it. I appreciate that he's a local guy for St. Louis, and they can at least look at him and be like, oh, we got a local kid here playing for the team. But other than that, I don't see any silver lining for Logan Brown at all. I'm hoping Jeff Brown jumps back in my comments and comes at me again for coming out as boy, because we've had that happen before, and I think he deleted his Twitter account after that. So maybe he's watching right now. But if he is, he ain't it. Your boy.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Sorry.
Anyways, here's Wonderwall. That classic photo where he's got the guitar, he's dad's rollie on. He's cooking there back when he was freshly minted 11th overall.
Well, I photoshopped that, right, Ross? The guitar.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he's not actually holding a guitar in that photo. I added the guitar.
Awesome. That's good Photoshop work, Martian.
It's not that good if you look close, but
you got to get up pretty early to fool Ross on those ones, so that's pretty good.
I got a wild segue here, and young Zachary 96 just put this link together in my brain. Andreas Englund is the reason why Logan Brown's got the eye thing. He dummied him last night. So the way I'm rolling in from Logan Brown
last night, he got in a fight.
It was yesterday. They played Colorado. He didn't get a fight. No, he got smoked.
Oh yeah. I saw that highlight. Yeah, I saw the clip there.
So did you guys face off the OJ? Apparently, he's built like a bodybuilder. His whole family's bodybuilders. Apparently,
I mean, on Elite Prospects, he was listed. I've got it here. He's listed at 6'4", 227 pounds. So yeah, that's a big boy.
Okay, so he's been in 2 pro fights. One of them was against Andreas Englund, and I was going to post it, and then I clicked it. Andreas Englund beat the wheels off of him.
Wow. I mean, Englund's a big boy, though. You got to take that into consideration.
It was a dirty hip check apparently on the play. Oh, illegal. I want to see this hit. Actually, I'm curious now. But yeah, Englund's a big boy, but it was kind of interesting that his one fight in the AHL was against Belleville, and it was against Andreas Englund back when he was with Hartford, the Rangers affiliate. But for more on the trade, go check out today's video. Pilsy and I did a quick YouTube hit for the Julien Gauthier acquisition. What can you expect from him? And then the direct link to Rupper's tweet where he gave like a 2-minute breakdown. It was awesome for a guy who's seen him play a ton at MSG and on the road with the Rangers. But we talk about a potential schedule loss tomorrow. I'll tell you, this was a schedule win for the Ottawa Senators against a Blues team that played yesterday, had the heart and soul stripped away from their team over the last little while between Tarasenko, O'Reilly, and then Achari, a good bottom sixer. So you had to go out and get point night, and the Ottawa Senators did just that. Before we wrap up, Pilsy, any final thoughts after watching today's game? I'll ask you it in a question way and then take it from there. But I'm done flip-flopping. The Sens are officially in the hunt. I'm not going, like, if they lose tomorrow, I'm not all of a sudden being like, hey, one more and it's a must win. With the 4 games in hand and 5 points out, they're totally in the mix right now.
Ross, I've been up and down on this team like a goddamn yo-yo, and you know what? I'm doing the yo-yo move when you hold it up. It's not going down anymore. I'm holding it up. What do you do? It's called like a cradle. I'm walking the dog on my Ottawa Senators P-word hopes because, look, this team has shown that even like. I don't think you could really have much more adversity to go through if you're this team. The Josh Norris injury kicks you right where it hurts, right off the bat. You work through that. Artem Zub has been injured. Cam Talbot up and down. Now Cam Talbot's injured again. Forsberg out for the season. Josh Norris comes back. He's hurt. Like there's no clear runway for this team just to have a nice smooth takeoff, and they end up sticking through it. The top 6 guys hold strong, and they're right in the mix. And if there wasn't games in hand, maybe I would just be like, well, there's a nice effort here. But they have games in hand on the top in, I think it's the Islanders, the Capitals, and the Panthers. So Buffalo and Detroit are kind of right with them. I'm looking at the standings now here. Yeah, so Florida, Washington, and the Islanders have 59, 58, and 59. And they're only a few points out. So, Ross, I'm right there with you. Yeah, thank you for pulling that
Washington
up.
Washington is falling right off. You don't even need to worry about them at all. I think the Sens are obviously better than Buffalo and Detroit. I mean, in my biased mind, they are at least. Buffalo's looked good at times this season as well. But they're in the mix, boys. They really are. They're right there.
100%. And the thing I'm looking at too here is Florida has no space to make any deadline moves. They're just strapped. They have no first round picks. They're right up against the cap. Like
they don't have first round picks until my unborn child is eligible for the NHL.
All right, breaking news. But then you look at Washington. Washington, this team is just going down the tubes. They're not going to spend money on rentals here. Buffalo and Detroit are in the same spot as Ottawa. They're not fully convinced that they're ready for a playoff push here. I don't think they're going to make any big deadline moves. So it's not exactly an arms race here.
And the Islanders already made their big pick. Their big pickup, and they're still losing.
Exactly. And I don't think Lou's going to put any more into this. Like, that was a big package for Lou to trade, and for him to extend him off the bat, too long, too much money, his own words about that Horvat contract. I don't think they've got more in the tank here. So when the Ottawa Senators start to get a little more healthy, and who knows, Pierre Dorion might not be done this deadline. Am I saying he's going to make a massive move? Probably not. But I think the Ottawa Senators, they have a chance here. So Ross, I am right there with you. I think it was like 2 weeks ago I said the season's over. Who cares? We're not looking at the standings, but I'm right back up here. And Martian, I'm tapping that believe sign with you. We're believing here because we've had enough down times here.
Yeah. I've always been a very steady, optimistic guy, and then I think a couple weeks ago I had a moment of lapse where I put it out. I said we got nothing to look forward to anymore.
Can't blame you.
But guess what? I'm back, baby. We're on the optimism train. That's how we go. That's how we get the fan base back into things and excited, and that's going to just do nothing but motivate the players, because when we're there and we're cheering hard, and when believe it or not, guys, it makes a huge difference when people show up to the games. These kids are sick of playing in front of empty barns. And they mentioned it in almost every presser they have or every interview they have after these games, that the fans make all the difference in the world. So we got to keep showing up. We got to keep showing out for these boys.
100%. And if you look at the standings there, Detroit, Ottawa, side by side, same amount of games, couple different a couple extra overtime losses. They're 2 points up. But as Jared points out, those two games back to back at the end of February could make or break at least who has.
Yep.
Somebody's going to spring, what do you say, pole vault? The other one, they're going to help spring them up the standings if they can win both. I mean, obviously a split kind of keeps
the old slingshot like Ricky Bobby.
Slingshot. Thank you. That's the word I need.
Shake and bake.
Slingshot. But positive Pilsy's back. Martian staying positive, and I am right in full delusion territory with the Ottawa Senators 5 points out of a playoff spot with 4 games in hand on the Islanders. And I agree with people in the comments are mentioning it's Buffalo that we got to look at. And who better to hate on than Buffalo right now?
Oh my God.
You can go check out Locked On Sabres, but we got to have a chat because we like Joe. We like Joe.
We did.
I don't like him at all. I don't like him at all.
Yeah, you know what? That's trash.
That's a big loss of respect for me for our guy Joe. That was just a unnecessary ricochet and
not
5
even
or 6.
Wasn't even a ricochet. It was like a premeditated. Yeah. That wasn't even like a clip from his dude.
That dude went out of his way. He went out of his way to make that clip.
That was crazy.
And there's like 5 or 6 points that are just absolute trash. Like I don't know. I don't like to bash our.
You made it through the whole video. I didn't watch the whole video.
Yeah, I don't like to bash our fellow co-hosts at the network, but
tough take.
There's still time to delete that. I mean, that's got to get taken down. That was there was 5 different things that I thought this has to be a SNL bit here. He can't be serious. Like, you are the Buffalo Sabres, and you're talking about the Ottawa Senators being embarrassing.
Michael, go check out Locked On Sabres. 4-minute video just roasting Ottawa, the fans, everybody for retiring Chris Neal's number. It was actually it was pathetic is what it was.
Nick Price, that's what got me the most heated. Putting Chris Neal in a conversation with Matt Cook is disgusting.
Matt Cook would never fight for his teammates or himself.
Barely. And he's been suspended several times. He's the greasiest piece of trash that ever played hockey, in my opinion.
Everyone who he said in his comparables had been suspended multiple times.
And we can't let the Locked On games played Chris Neal did.
We can't let the Locked On Sabre guy ruin our nice win here today.
No, but
we're all fired up now.
I'm getting people fired up for good reason, because the Sabres, man, on the ice, that's a great hockey team. They score a ton of goals. That's a good team. Let's get some rivalry going. If I'm not mistaken, is it the last game of the season is in Buffalo. Could you imagine? Talk about meaningful games late in the year.
Nope.
A little play in action.
Dude, if that, let's
we
say
would go to Buffalo. I would go. I would drive.
Right now, if the Senators can clinch a playoff spot in that game, like they did in Philly for that afternoon game at the Hamburglar Run, if it's make or break, we're going to Buffalo.
We're going.
We're going to Buffalo. Nobody's ever sounded that excited doing that before. Martian, final thoughts from you, my man?
Yeah, it was just a great win against a weak team again here, and nice to see the big boys are keeping it going here with all these multi-point games. Like, these guys are just absolutely flying out there. They're hitting those crispy passes, so that's what we like to see. Very happy. Looking forward to tomorrow already. Family Day. It's going to be a good one.
Hey, let's get this show on the road. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. It's not going to be long. We're going to have an episode tomorrow, eh, Pilsy? Are we doing episode and pod? Does that make sense?
Hey, you guys not taking the holiday? Let's give yourself a little holiday and then do a nice postcast.
The Sens Central citizens are our family, so I think we do a podcast and
man.
the postcast.
I mean, peel the curtain back. May as well talk now. Are we recording tonight then? Because the game starts at literally noon. Like, how
For
quick
you.
is it going to age? Yeah, for me. I work 4 a.m. to noon, so that kind of takes up all my other time.
That's true. We'll figure it out. We'll
figure it out. But if not, you're less than 24 hours away from the next postcast. We'll talk to you tomorrow, one way or another. Shout out Farm to Fork, too. I got to tell you about them tomorrow. Absolute beauties at Farm to Fork. But for today, we say goodbye. Thank you to the Glebe Central Pub, not only for doing what you do so well, but for hosting us at your establishment. We can't wait to be back. Glebe Central Pub, 779 Bank Street. And make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. For Atleems Martian and Brandon Pillar, I'm Ross Levitan, wrapping up a 7-2 Sens win over the St. Louis Blues. How are you, Sens Army? The Sens are officially sniffing around the wild card race. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.